So this afternoon, the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has delivered his budget, his spring budget for 2023. This is basically where the government outline their big financial and economic policies for the coming year. I'm going to take you through in this video the ones that matter to you as a kind of normal person, not the business ones, not the economic stuff, the general everyday stuff that's going to have an impact potentially on the money in our pockets, in our wallets, in our bank accounts. Very quickly though, one little thing about that, one little announcement or broader one, which will kind of come back to our spending. It did sort of say that the Office of Budget Responsibility, the OBR, they are expecting the inflation rate by the end of this year to drop to 2.9%. We're currently around the 10% level. So this would be interesting to see. Next Thursday, the Bank of England will be meeting to talk about what they're going to do around interest rates. Are they going to go up? Are they going to stay the same? Are they going to go down? And obviously that is all based around inflation. So it'd be interesting to see if that has any impact on the decision next week. And also, they said that the UK is not going to go into this is important wording here, a technical recession in 2023. There was an expectation that we would. Now, I think the word in there, technical, basically means that we're still not doing great. In fact, we're going to have a kind of a growth of quite a low growth. The economy will still be shrinking this year, just not into negative amounts. So not necessarily good news for the economy that we won't be in a recession, but technically not in a recession. So what about the other announcements, the other policies? I think the most important one here, the one that's been publicised quite widely, I did kind of talk about this a few weeks ago, alluded this could happen, relates to our energy bills, our gas and electricity bills. And as expected, there has been a U-turn. The energy price guarantee, which is the most energy providers can charge us per unit of energy and standing charge of gas and electricity, the most they can charge us. And the kind of frustrating for many people here, but the rates given here are based on a typical household use over a year. It's due to increase on the 1st of April to £3,000 a year from the current rate of £2,500 is now postponed. That increase won't happen until the 1st of July. That's when the energy price guarantee is going to increase. Now, a few things to cover here because it gets a little bit complicated. So, first of all, because the bills aren't going up, it sadly doesn't mean you won't be paying more from April the 1st. For the energy usage, how much you use. Remember, it's all these typical ones. If you use a lot of energy, your bills will be higher. If you use not much energy, your bills will be lower than those typical rates. But first of all, the way they are calculated is still links into the energy price cap. So we will probably see some changes in those figures, and that may well mean the standing charges do increase. It does vary depending on where you live and what provider you're with, but you might see that actually your standing charge increases, maybe actual end use. The actual unit charge will go down. It will vary, but you might find you pay a little bit more for the energy every single day. Not much though, so broadly the same rate of where we have been since October. But also there's that £67, £66, £67 discount that we've been having on our bill since October. That will end. So although our prices for the energy you use itself isn't going to go up by that £500 a year figure, they will still be higher than they have been over the last few months because of that discount not being applied. Of course, you also could take the bills will come down anyway because hopefully as we go into spring, April, May and June, our usage will be reduced. We'll have the lights on less, we'll have the heating on less, although we still had snow here yesterday, so who knows what can happen in April. But fundamentally, it's a very, very complicated way. Can't say your bills are going to be the same or more, but they are probably going to be a little bit higher because of that discount going. Now, the good news here is, and I mentioned this in the video a few weeks ago when I looked at the changes to the energy price cap and the energy price guarantee that were announced previously, is that the energy price cap is now still predicted to drop down from July onwards when the next time it is set and stay at that way for a good, maybe potentially a year at a rate of around £2,100 a year for the average energy use. And if the energy price cap is lower than the energy price guarantee, then that one takes hold. So we can expect to see an actual decrease in our bills come July, but still a lot more than where they were, a year and a half ago. So still a lot going on. Sticking with energy, a couple of other announcements worth sharing with you. The prepayment meter premium. This is basically if you've been on a prepayment meter, and often that's because you've been moved there because you've had debts on your bills and the people have moved you over there. But sadly, it's cost you more, which has been the premium. This extra cost for having a prepayment meter rather than a credit meter, basically the ones where you pay by direct debit. That is going to change. So they are going to be on the same level here. So this can be removed from July And apparently, if you're on a prepayment meter, that's going to be worth about £45 per household that you'll save in a year. Now, when it comes to other increased costs, there are the big three that the government always talks about here, the duties they announce: your alcohol duty, your cigarette duty, your tobacco duty, and your fuel duty. Let's do with fuel duty first of all. This was due to go up by 11 pence per litre. That now won't happen. It'll be frozen at its current rates for another year. Alcohol duty, well, that's already scheduled to go up in August, but there's a draft beer duty. So if you buy your beer in a pub, that will be frozen. The duty there makes it about 11 pence cheaper in terms of the duty, the tax that is paid, than buying beer in the supermarket. And tobacco duty, that is going to go ahead. The increase, as expected, could be potentially quite high because it's the RPI rate of inflation plus 2%, which could make it close to 15% for people. And that starts from 6 p.m. on the 15th of March. So today, when we're recording this, probably by the time you're watching this, that already would have gone up in price. Now, there's not been much in terms of savings, but there was one announcement worth sharing with you, and this is the Help to Save scheme has been extended. This is where if you are a low earner, you don't earn a huge amount of money, you're also on universal credit or receive tax credits, you're able to get a 50% boost on savings you put aside. The government will give you a huge amount back. Again, you can't put too much money in there, but it's a great little scheme for people who don't normally have much money able to put away in savings, which is due to end in September this year. It's now been extended for another 18 months, so it will last until April 2025. So I will probably do something more detail about this in my savings update next month, the end of this month, give you a bit more detail on how that works if it is new to you. What there wasn't any news on in terms of savings was anything with a lifetime ISA. Sadly, there'd been a lot of hope that maybe finally a couple of things would happen here. One, the penalty that you get if you withdraw your money for any reason other than buying your first home or for leaving it for retirement would be removed, so people can access cash in there without losing money, particularly with all the increased costs right now. We had it briefly suspended during the pandemic, but it went back to the rules. Sadly, nothing on that in the budget. And also the maximum eligible value of a property you can use the lifetime ISA for remains at £450,000, which if you're in London and South East makes it a lot harder to actually take advantage of this account. Now, the other big things to share with you are one sort of around this idea of getting people back into the workplace. This was billed as a back to work budget and trying to encourage people who maybe don't, for whatever reason, decide to work when they could. Now, there were a few things around benefits, including trying to review a white paper and some other policies to try and get more people with disabilities to be comfortable working again. There were going to be more kind of stricter reprimands for people who are on universal credit if they don't take certain jobs which have felt they're going to be more suitable for. But the big two really come down to childcare and pensions. And we do childcare first of all. This was leaked yesterday, but the big thing here is the increase, the extension of the free childcare scheme to children aged from 9 months up to 2 years old. It's already there for 3 and 4 year olds. So there's a whole new load of people who'll be able to get this 30 free hours of childcare. The idea being that makes it easier for parents to go back to work. Sounds great, and it is great in lots of ways, but this is not happening straight away. In fact, it takes a while. It's staggered. So from a year's time, April 2024, this will be available for 2 year olds, but they're only able to get 15 hours of free childcare every single week. Then from September 2024, that extends to children between 9 months and 1 year as well. So that means all children will be able to get at least 15 hours. 3 and 4 year olds will get 30 hours. And not until September of 2025 will all children between 9 months old and school age, so the under fives, be able to get those 30 hours of childcare. So it's going to take a while for this to come through. Although there's a good reason for that, because obviously you can't just suddenly say go ahead, because there's already, I think, a lot of struggle within that industry in order to have enough people out there, enough staff properly trained up, able to cater for the demand. So obviously they need to get to that stage before more kids can come into that. And obviously with younger kids, there'll be different needs as well. There's also going to be additional money to go and help increase the wages, increase the ratio of staff to children and things like that in order to give those parents time to get back to work because they're not looking after the kids. There are other things in the same sort of area here. By September 2026, so again, a long way away, there should be a provision for all parents to leave their children at school between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Those before and after school clubs, so anyone can kind of, again, in theory, drop your kids off and pick up later and do a full day's work. That's the idea behind it. And the other one, which is quite interesting here, if you are currently on universal credit or you become on someone on universal credit and you get help with childcare costs, at the moment you have to claim back up to 85% of those childcare costs. And obviously that's a huge upfront cost, which people don't have. And often that means the eligibility, people who are eligible, many of them don't sign up at all. So what's changing here is it's now going to be paid upfront, which is going to make a big difference. It's worth up to £950 a month for one child and up to £1,630 a year for two. Again, no details quite on when that will start, but that's going to be a big change for people there. And the last one to talk about here is pensions. And again, this is about getting people back to work or people to keep on working. But broadly, this is going to be some of the kind of the higher earners. This is, a lot of this came from the idea that doctors are leaving, but this might encourage GPs to carry on working for the NHS. But it will really be impacting some of the wealthiest people out there. And there are 3 changes happening here, okay? First of all is the annual allowance. This is the maximum amount you can pay into your pension in a year. This was what's currently £40,000. It's going to increase to £60,000. Of course, if your salary is lower than that, you can't put in more than your salary. But either whatever your salary is, or 60 grand every year. So you'll be able to save more money every year into your pension. What was also expected was that the lifetime allowance would be increased from 1 million to 1.8 million pounds. This is the most you can put into your pension over your entire career. And again, this was seen as one of those barriers, particularly when we talk about GPs, for them to carry on working later on, because if they wanted to sort of keep putting money in for their retirement, they were going to hit by quite hefty tax charges. But rather than increase from 1 million to 1.8 million, it has been abolished completely. So there is now no maximum of how much you can put into your pension. Obviously, when you put money into your pension, you get tax relief. There's the ability to take 25% back when you first claim it, if you wish to, part of that sort of flexible pension scheme. So this is really going to help the richest people put more away for their retirement. It doesn't help people at the lower end of the scale. And the last one here, the money purchase allowance, that has also been increased. This is how much you can put into your pension once you've already started claiming your pension. And that's going to increase from £4,000 a year to £10,000 a year, which makes a little bit of a difference, I guess. If you go back to work later on, you can still put more money in to your pension, get that tax relief, and so on. So those are the key elements of the spring 2023 budget. Let me know in the comments below how you think you're going to be impacted by this. Is there anything you wish had been on there? Are you missing out because of things that haven't been announced? My name is Andy Webb. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, cheers.